Hey guys, don't be mad at me, okay? Okay, I'm going live early because, first of all, it's so beautiful outside. And I thought, oh shoot, what happened? Did that like take a picture of me? Anyway, I was like, it's so gorgeous outside. Oh, it did. It took I just learned how to take a screen shot, I guess. Anyway, oh, I'm so old. I was like sitting there and I was like, you know what I could do? I could go ahead and go live an hour early and we could talk about how to change old behaviors. And let me get my. I thought I would talk to you guys about what worked for me and how I have learned to change behaviors that I used to practice every single day in my active addiction. When I was actively using, I had almost like it was like a plan for each day, and it was like things that I did each day to obtain drugs and alcohol, right? Like a schedule. And these were things that I practiced every day for years and years. And a lot of them were very, very unhealthy habits, things that I'm not proud of, things that, I am not doing today now that I'm sober. And I'm going to share with you guys how hard it was at first for me to break those habits and like get out of the habit of doing those things over and over again. So when I first got sober, first of all, hi, my name is Nicole. This is my channel, Real Talk Recovery. We talk about recovery from addiction. If you haven't already, go ahead and check out my channel, subscribe, give this video a thumbs up. Let your friends know that we have a really rad, awesome, banging community over here of men and women who are trying to stay sober and do the next right thing. And if they need support, or someone else that needs support, invite them over to the channel. What is that? Yeah, y'all know it's a hammer. Okay, I'm outside in the backyard. So, in my active addiction, you guys, I used to have a really bad problem with stealing. Stealing from places like stores, Kroger, Walmart, Dillard's, places like that. I always had this saying that I would say, like, I don't steal from people, I just steal from big corporations because they can afford it. That was my rationale when I was in active addiction. That was how I would justify my behavior. So it really became a habit that I practiced every day, to go into these stores and to shoplift. Because a lot of the times the way I would get drugs was by shoplifting and trading the shoplift items for drugs. So it became like a habit that I practiced every single day. Sometimes I would do it more than one time a day. And so when I first got sober, it was really difficult for me to go inside of stores and not shoplift. Like, I would automatically go to the makeup aisle, or where the candles were at, or where like the big ticket items were at that I knew that I could get and put into my purse or bag and get out of the store with unscathed, right? So when I first got sober, my sponsor was like, listen, when you get sober, you just don't stop doing drugs and alcohol. When you first get sober and you want to stay sober forever, you got to change your behaviors. You got to get rid of those nasty old habits and stop doing them. Or else you're just a dry drunk. Or else you're just a dry drug addict. And you're not, working recovery. You're just not doing drugs but still miserable, and still doing your old behaviors. I see so many people who are struggling to stay sober who, when they get sober, they don't work on the behaviors, and they just abstain from drugs, and they're miserable. They'll be unhappy, they'll be shoplifting, they'll still be getting in trouble by the law because nothing's changed. Just taking drugs and alcohol out of the equation doesn't make you recovered, right? It doesn't change anything, really. You have to change the person that you are. You have to change on the inside. And that's what I learned, you know, from my sponsor, is that when I'm working on changing and being a better person, I'm changing from the inside out. So like I said, when I first got sober, I was really struggling. I would walk into Walmart and I'd go straight to the makeup aisle and I'd want to put all that stuff in my purse. And so what I had to start doing was I had to start telling on myself. When I would have these urges to shoplift, I would call my sponsor and talk to her. Hey, you know, I just walked into Walmart and it's like second nature. I just want to go and grab something, you know. And I was fighting against this urge that I had. It was like, that's the only way I can explain it to you guys, is it's like an urge, like a trigger like you have when you want to use, right? Only it was a trigger to shoplift. But I'm happy to say that I got over that and I got past it and I stopped shoplifting, you guys. And I haven't shoplifted in almost 4 years, which is a huge accomplishment for me because, like I said, when I was in an active addiction, I was shoplifting every day because I had to get them drugs, you know, and that's how I fueled my addiction, was through shoplifting. Well, that's towards the end, because towards the end I didn't have no money, you know, so I had to go out and steal to get stuff. I lost all my jobs. I lost all the people that were giving me dope for free. You know, they were all like, I had used up all my fronts. So hey Carrie, I was just about to text you and tell you I was going live early because, listen, I'm just having a great day today and I'm feeling fresh, and I thought, let me just come on and do our live stream. So breaking that habit of going out and shoplifting was, like I said, it was really hard, but it has been totally worth it because I haven't gotten in trouble with the law. I haven't been arrested. Last time I got caught shoplifting was when I was in active addiction. Dollars, you guys, because I mean, I got charged with it, right? It's like 60 degrees outside right now, and it feels so good. And I thought, let me just go ahead and come outside and give you guys a change of scenery while we talk about recovery from addiction. Look at this hair. Look at this hair. So, so that was the first habit that I had to learn to break, right? And part of that was becoming a better person. Part of that is wanting to be better on the inside, because that's what recovery is all about. Recovery is about changing from the inside out. Recovery is an inside job, you guys, because what happens is you take away the drugs, you take away the alcohol, you take away that false sense of pride, and you're left with a broken person, someone who is lost, someone who doesn't know what they want, someone who is afraid and insecure. And that was me. When I first got sober, I was a wreck, you know, and I still am a wreck a lot of days. You know, there's some days, you guys, where I want to revert back to my old ways, right? People play me a lot. They think, oh, Nicole's so sweet, she's so sensitive. I'm telling you, people take me. I did, Carrie. I did. I got caught shoplifting, not recently. This was back in 2013 or 14, right before Nathaniel was born. I got caught shoplifting, and it ended up costing me over $1,000 to get all that stuff paid off, because I was in there, you know, I was shoplifting a lot. So that was a huge change from the inside out for me, was doing the right thing and not going places and shoplifting anymore. Another thing that I have recently overcome that was a bad habit that I used to practice all the time is smoking. And we were just talking about that. So Carrie was like, how did you just stop smoking, right? Well, I knew that I wanted to stop smoking because my son was seeing me smoke, you guys, and he was starting to do things like act like he was smoking with little sticks and stuff, right? I would sell it. Sometimes I would keep it. A lot of times I would trade it for drugs. Take it to my dope man's house and trade it for drugs. I would shoplift like a lot of clothes, a lot of like makeup, but when I would want dope, I would trade it to my dope man. So when I decided that I was going to stop smoking cigarettes, I had just got put on Wellbutrin, which is a medication that they use for like an antidepressant, but it's also used to help people stop smoking and to help them lose weight. And so when I got put on Wellbutrin, my cigarettes started tasting differently. And I really think that Wellbutrin it factored into the reason why I stopped smoking, because it's like I lost this taste. I lost the taste for cigarettes, you know? And I smoked you guys since I was 17 and I'm 37. So I smoked menthol cigarettes for 20 years. And I just stopped buying them. But again, I wanted to do better. On the inside, I was like changing and becoming a better person and doing the next right thing and taking care of my son and taking care of my house and my husband. And I was like, I want to be better. I don't want to be smoking on these cancer sticks. And another thing that really inspired me to stop is that I didn't want to get cancer, y'all. Like cancer, my grandma had cancer. I think some other people that I know have had cancer, and I just hear these horrible, horrible stories, and I don't want that to happen to me, you know? I know that it's not a guarantee that I won't get it, but it still helps to not smoke, you know? I think that people don't understand that, you know, the drugs and the alcohol. I have been an on and off smoker for 20. Yeah. The drugs and the alcohol are just a symptom of our disease. Like they're what we used to feel better. You know, it's like when you get sober, it's a lot of changing. You know, it's a lot of becoming a new person. I'm not the same person I was in active addiction. In active addiction, you know, I was a totally different person. I was a lot. I would hurt people. I would do things and not care if it affected someone else. Now I care. I don't want to hurt other people. I want to help other people. And helping others is one of the main reasons, is what helps me stay sober, because I want to leave a good impression on the world, you know? I want to stay clean and sober and help other people. So that's the tea on that. So I made a Patreon, and I don't know what I'm going to do, how I'm going to talk about it, how I'm going to promote it, but as my channel grows, sorry, my head was itching, you guys will see me talking about that a lot more. So changing behaviors is so important in recovery. Just getting sober and not using drugs, that's just half the battle. That's just the beginning. We have to start changing the things that we do and being better people. I hope you guys know that if you're struggling and you need help changing to be better, all you got to do is hit me up. I'll help you with anything I can. You know, I love being of service. I love helping other people. It inspires me. You guys inspire me. I'm just so grateful for each and every one of you. Now, I'm going to jump off here. I just wanted to come on. I'm tired. I'm cramping. My stomach is just like blah, blah, blah. I haven't had my period in like 3 months. So it's like really being hard on me right now. So I just I feel under the weather. I just want to go lay down and go to sleep early. So that's why I wanted to jump on. I didn't want to leave you guys without a video. But remember, recovery is an inside job, and we are healing from the inside out. Staying away from old friends, partying friends. They were only friends when I was partying. Exactly. And we're healing from the inside out, you know? We're becoming better people, you guys, one day at a time. But once we take away the drugs and the alcohol, then we have to cope with life on life's terms. You know, we have to face the world. We can't just run away from our problems anymore. You know, and that's something I've learned being sober, is that, you know, I'm not weak. I'm one of the strongest, most determined, most loyal people you will ever meet. And I'm facing my addiction head on. And I want to share that with other people, and I want to help other people to face their addictions, you know? Carrie, I'm so proud of you for like getting the help that you needed and getting on medically assisted treatment and doing it the right way. Like, I'm just so proud of you. And I want you to tell your husband I said that. I thought I was strong enough to be around an old friend to help her. Nope. Yeah, and that's the thing, like, that's what our addiction tells us. Listen, that has happened to me so many times, girl. Don't even be embarrassed or ashamed, because I cannot tell you how many times that I had tried to get sober and then went around old people places and things, and whoop, I was back to the races. So many times. So you are not alone. And you know what? Every experience that we learn from is amazing. It's what we have to go through to get things right? And I don't regret anything that I've went through. I don't regret any of the past, because it's built me and helped me be the person I am today. Do you know what I'm going to do before I go? I want to read one of these stories out of the back of the big book, because last time I did a live, like a couple lives ago, we read out of here and everybody loved it. So if you want to stay, you can, but I think you'll like it. Okay. So last time we read Empty on the Inside. Late start. Let's read the next one then. Okay, this one is called Late Start. Here we go. I am a 75-year-old alcoholic. For 55 of those 75 years, I led what is known as a normal middle-class life. Alcohol had as little part in it as candied yams. Nice when they're but unmissed when absent. Nice when they're there, but unmissed when absent. The home in which I grew up included, hold on. That one's kind of like, I don't know if y'all will be able to relate to it. Oh, here we go. Freedom from bondage is what this one's called. The mental twists that led up to my drinking began many years before I ever took a drink, for I am one of those whose history proves conclusively that my drinking was a symptom of a deeper trouble. Through my efforts to get down to causes and conditions, I stand convinced that my emotional illness has been present from my earliest recollection. I never did react normally to any emotional situation. The medical profession would probably tell me I was conditioned for alcoholism by the things that happened to me in my childhood. And I am sure they would be right as far as they go. But AA has taught me I am the result of the way I reacted to what happened to me as a child. What is much more important to me, AA has taught me that through this simple program, I may experience a change in this reaction pattern that will indeed allow me to match calamity with serenity. I love this book. I love this. Matching calamity with serenity. That means when you're going through drama, when you're going through chaos, you can still find peace in that situation. And you can handle situations that you used to not ever be able, that you used to not be able to handle. That you can go through divorces, you can go through losing a child, you can go through an illness, you can go through bankruptcy, all kinds of horrible things that you normally would have lost your shit over and got drunk or high. When you get sober and you work this program, you'll be able to face that shit and go through it a champion. I am an only child, and when I was 7 years old, my parents separated very abruptly. With no explanation at all, I was taken from my home in Florida to my grandparents' home in the Midwest. My mother went to a nearby city to go to work, and my father, being an alcoholic, simply went. My grandparents were strangers to me, and I remember being lonely, terrified, and hurt. In time, I concluded that the reason I was hurt was because I loved my parents, and I concluded too that if I never allowed myself to love anybody or anything, I could never be hurt again. It became second nature for me to remove myself from anything or anybody I found myself growing fond of. I grew up believing that one had to be totally self-sufficient, for one never dared to depend on another human being. I thought that life was a pretty simple thing. You simply made a plan for your life based upon what you wanted, and then you needed only the courage to go after it. In my late teens, I became aware of emotions I'd not counted on: restlessness, anxiety, fear, and insecurity. The only kind of security I knew anything about at the time was material security, and I decided that all these intruders would vanish immediately if I only had a lot of money. The solution seemed very simple. With cold calculations, I set about to marry a fortune, and I did. The only thing this changed, however, was my surroundings, and it was soon apparent that I could have the same uncomfortable emotions with an unlimited checking account that I could on a working girl's salary. It was impossible for me to say at this point. Maybe there is something wrong with my philosophy, and I certainly couldn't say, maybe there is something wrong with me. It was not difficult to convince myself that my unhappiness was the fault of the man I had married, and I divorced him at the end of a year. I was married and divorced again before I was 23 years old, this time to a prominent band leader, a man who many women wanted. I thought this would give me ego strength, make me feel wanted and secure, and alleviate my fears. But again, nothing changed inside me. The only importance in all of this lies in the fact that at 23, I was just as sick as I was at 33 when I came into AA. But at the time, I apparently had no place to go because I had no drinking problem. Had I been able to explain to a psychiatrist the feelings of futility, loneliness, and lack of purpose that had come with my deep sense of personal failure at the second divorce? I seriously doubt that the good doctor could have convinced me that my basic problem was a spiritual hunger. But AA has shown me this was the truth. And if I had been able to turn to the church at the time, I'm sure they could not have convinced me my sickness was within myself, nor could they have shown me that the need for self-analysis that AA has shown me is vital if I am to survive. So I had no place to go, or it seemed so. I wasn't afraid of anything or anybody after I learned about drinking. It seemed right from the beginning that with liquor I could always retire to my little private world where nobody could get at me to hurt me. It seems only fitting that when I did finally fall in love, it was with an alcoholic. And for the next 10 years, I progressed as rapidly as is humanly possible into what I believed to be hopeless alcoholism. During this time, our country was at war. My husband was soon in uniform and among the first to go overseas. My reaction to this was identical in many respects to my reaction to my parents leaving me when I was 7. Apparently, I'd grown physically at the customary rate of speed, and I had acquired an average amount of intellectual training in the intervening years, but there had been no emotional maturity at all. I realize now that this phase of my development had been arrested by my obsession with self, and my egocentricity had reached such proportions that adjustment to anything outside my personal control was impossible. I was immersed in self-pity and resentment, and the only people who would support this attitude or who I felt understood me at all were these people I met in bars and the ones who drank as I did. It became more and more necessary to escape from myself, for my remorse and shame and humiliation when I was sober were almost unbearable. The only way existence was possible was through rationalizing every sober moment and drinking myself into complete oblivion as often as I could. My husband eventually returned, but it was not long until we realized we could not continue our marriage. By this time, I was such a past master at kidding myself that I had convinced myself I had sat out a war and waited for this man to come home, and as my resentment and self-pity grew, so did my alcohol problem. The last 3 years of my drinking, I drank on my job. The amount of willpower exercised to control my drinking during working hours, diverted into a constructive channel, would have made me president, and the thing that made the willpower possible was the knowledge that as soon as my day was finished, I could drink myself into oblivion. Inside, though, I was scared to death, for I knew that the time was coming, and it couldn't be too remote, when I would be unable to hold a job. Maybe I wouldn't be able to hold any job, or maybe this was my greatest fear. I wouldn't care whether I had a job or not. I knew it didn't make any difference where I started. The inevitable end would be Skid Row. The only reality I was able to face had been forced upon me by its very repetition. I had to drink, and I didn't know there was anything in the world that could be done about it. About this time, I met a man who had 3 motherless children, and it seemed that might be a solution to my problem. I had never had a child, and this had been a satisfactory excuse many times for my drinking. It seemed logical to me that if I married this man and took the responsibility for these children, that they would keep me sober. So I married again. This caused the comment from one of my AA friends when I told my story after coming to the program, that I had always been a cinch for the program, for I had always been interested in mankind. I was just taking them one man at a time. The children kept me sober for darn near 3 weeks, and then I went on, please God, my last drunk. I've heard it said many times in AA, there is just one good drunk in every alcoholic's life, and that's the one that brings us into AA, and I believe it. I was drunk for 60 days around the clock, and it was my intention, literally, to drink myself to death. I went to jail for the 2nd time during this period for being drunk in an automobile. I was the only person I'd ever known personally who had ever been in jail, and I guess it is most significant that the 2nd time was less humiliating than the first. Finally, in desperation, my family appealed to a doctor for advice, and he suggested AA. The people who came knew immediately I was in no condition to absorb anything. I was put in a sanitarium to be defogged so that I could make a sober decision about this for myself. It was here that I realized for the first time that as a practicing alcoholic, I had no rights. Society can do anything it chooses with me when I am a drunk, and I can't lift a finger to stop it, for I forfeit my rights through the simple expedient of becoming a menace to myself and to the people around me. With deep shame came the knowledge, too, that I had lived with no sense of social obligation, nor had I known the meaning of moral responsibility. I attended my first AA meeting 8 years ago, and it was with deep gratitude that I'm able to say I've not had a drink since that time, and that I can take no sedation or narcotics, for this program is to me one of complete sobriety. I no longer need to escape reality. One of the truly great things AA has taught me is that reality, too, has 2 sides. I had only known the grim side before the program, but now I had a chance to learn about the pleasant side as well. The AA members who sponsored me told me in the beginning that I would not only find a way to live without having a drink, but that I would find a way to live without wanting to drink, if I would do these simple things. They said, if you want to know how this program works, take the first word of your question. The H is for honesty. The O is for open-mindedness. And the W is for willingness. These, our big book calls the essentials of recovery. They suggested that I study the AA book and try to take the 12 steps according to the explanation in the book, for it was their opinion that the application of these principles in our daily lives will get us sober and keep us sober. I believe this, and I believe, too, that it is equally impossible to practice these principles to the best of our ability a day at a time and still drink, for I don't think the 2 things are compatible. I had no problem admitting I was powerless over alcohol, and I certainly agreed that my life had become unmanageable. I had only to reflect on the contrast between the plans I made so many years ago for my life with what really happened to know I couldn't manage my life drunk or sober. AA taught me that willingness to believe was enough for a beginning. It's been true in my case, nor could I quarrel with restore us to sanity, for my actions, drunk or sober before AA, were not those of a sane person. My desire to be honest with myself made it necessary for me to realize that my thinking was irrational. It had to be, or I could not have justified my erratic behavior as I did. I've been benefited from a dictionary definition I found that reads, rationalization is giving a socially acceptable reason for socially unacceptable behavior. And socially unacceptable behavior is a form of insanity. AA has given me serenity of purpose and the opportunity to be of service to God and to the people about me. And I am serene in the infallibility of these principles that provide the fulfillment of my purpose. AA has taught me that I will have peace of mind in exact proportion to the peace of mind I bring into the lives of other people. So I will have peace of mind directly proportionate of the peace that I bring to others. That's cool. And it has taught me the true meaning of happy are ye who know these things and do them. For the only problems I have now are those I create when I break out in a rash of self-will. I've had many spiritual experiences since I've been in the program, many that I didn't recognize right away, for I'm slow to learn and they take many guises. But one was so outstanding that I like to pass it on whenever I can in the hope that it will help someone else. As I said earlier, self-pity and resentment were my constant companions, and my inventory began to look like a 33-year-old diary, for I seemed to have a resentment against everybody I'd ever known. All but one responded to the treatment suggested in the steps immediately, but this one posed a problem. This resentment was against my mother, and it was 25 years old. I had fed it, fanned it, and nurtured it as one might a delicate child, and it had become as much as a part of me as my breathing. It had provided me with the excuses for my lack of education, my marital failures, personal failures, inadequacy, and of course my alcoholism. And though I really thought I had been willing to part with it, now I knew I was reluctant to let it go. One morning, however, I realized I had to get rid of it, for my reprieve was running out, and if I didn't get rid of it, I was going to get drunk. And I didn't want to get drunk anymore. In my prayers that morning, I asked God to point out to me some way to be free of this resentment. During the day, a friend of mine brought me some magazines to take to a hospital group I was interested in. I looked through them. A banner across one featured an article by a prominent clergyman in which I caught the word resentment. He said, in fact, if you have a resentment you want to be free of, if you will pray for the person or the thing that you resent, you will be free. If you will ask in prayer for everything you want in your life to be given to them, you will be free. Ask for their health, their prosperity, their happiness, and you will be free. Even when you don't really want it for them and your prayers are only words and you don't mean it, go ahead and do it anyway. Do it every day for 2 weeks, and you will find you have come to mean it and want it for them, and you will realize that where you used to feel bitterness and resentment and hatred, you now feel compassionate, understanding, and love. It worked for me then, and it has worked for me many times since, and it will work for me every time I am willing to work it. Sometimes I have to ask first for the willingness, but it too always comes. And because it works for me, it will work for all of us. As another great man says, the only real freedom a human being can ever know is doing what you ought to do because you want to do it. This great experience that released me from the bondage of hatred and replaced it with the love is really just another affirmation of the truth I know. I get everything I need in AA, and everything I need I get. And when I get what I need, I invariably find that it was just what I wanted all the time. That was good. So, relieve me of the bondage of self. That praying for someone for 2 weeks for them to have all the things that you want in life and to be successful and prosperous, it really does work. A lot of the times I will have resentments, and that's always what my sponsor tells me to do is pray for that person. And at first it will be so hard for me to pray for them because I've got all this resentment, but by the end of those 2 weeks, I'm praying for that person And I'm just anointing them in the name of the Holy Spirit and praying for God to give them everything and to love them and to show their family grace and mercy. You know, I've been, whenever my son got taken away from me, I had such resentment towards the girl that called DHS, and I struggled with it, and it ate my lunch for a year. And when I started working through the steps with my sponsor and she recommended me praying for the girl, I thought, are you crazy? But I have forgiven her, and now I have this, like, not pity, compassion for her. I have compassion and caring for her, and I forgive her, you know. But it was a process. It was a process of me learning how to forgive, you know. You know what, Carrie? That was perfect then. I read that then. Because it was perfect. That was, see, I'm telling you guys, like, God works in my life in mysterious ways. And I'm really working hard on trying to be a better person, a better mom, a better friend, a better wife, a better coworker. I want to do so many things and just be successful, you know. So anyway, I hope you guys have a good night. I'm going to jump off here because my stomach is cramping so bad. But, oh, hey, Courtney. I love you guys. And I'm sorry I came on early. I hope you guys aren't upset, but I'm just tired. So I'll see you guys tomorrow, though. All right. Don't forget, if you haven't already, or if you want to, if you're interested, I posted my Patreon link on the community chat. So it's there if that's something you guys are interested in. Do not feel obligated. You will still have, I'm still going to be doing live streams here on my channel all the time. So don't even worry. Oh, Carrie. You know, I think because I gained weight that it kind of threw my period off. Because it was really regular for a while. Hey, Julie. It was regular for a while because I was on birth control. And then I got off birth control because it was making me have all these breakouts and stuff and making me just feel blah. And so I got off birth control, and then my hormones have been kind of getting back to used to, I guess, getting normal for a while now. But I keep y'all posted on if I get regular again. Julie, Courtney, Carrie, I love you guys. I'll see y'all tomorrow, okay? Night.